Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Journey to the Pit. I'm Jim Collins, and I'll be your host this week. Well, this episode. But tonight we have another banging guest, another highly anticipated interview. Many of y'all guys know this guy over his decades in this sport at a very highly competitive level. A lot of y'all guys have been messaging me, anticipating this interview. Y'all have shot us a lot of different questions. We're going to try to get a lot of them answered. But I believe that a lot of the questions will be answered throughout Bobby sharing his history, his experience, and his success. But before we get started, as always, let me say the disclaimer. All the information discussed in this interview is for historical, educational, and entertainment purposes only. None of this information is intended for any illegal purposes. All opinions are respected of the individual, and all rights are reserved. So, guys, let's go ahead and welcome Bobby Fairchild with Clear Creek Game Farms out in Oklahoma. Bobby, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, it's good to be here, Jim.
Well, listen, Bobby, this is going to be another historical interview. I have some questions, but before we start the questions, I think we're going to just start the conversation because a lot of these questions will be answered throughout our conversation. So, Bobby, for the individuals out there who do not know Bobby Fairchild, Clear Creek Farms, give us a little back history. Like, where did it all start? Are you first generation, second generation? You know, let's start from there.
Oh, there's nobody in this sport that's on any level that I haven't been on. I started out as a very young man. I wasn't a kid. I was probably 18 years old whenever I started this sport in probably 1979, 1980, somewhere right there.
Okay.
Always had a passion for competition animals. I was a coon hunter with some dogs and stuff, and was coon hunting with some guys that were cousins to my dear friend Gary Kelo, and that's where all this started going. And it's just started out with 3 or 4 roosters in a dream. Is where it all started.
Wow, it's all started, Bob. You said with just 3 roosters, huh?
Yeah, 3, maybe 4 or 5 roosters. I don't know. It wasn't very many. I don't even think they were all game. They were some chickens I gathered up from a little old farmer, and then of course, you know, my daddy wasn't a cocker on a level of what we recognize cockers today. But whenever I started playing with the game chickens, and I found out that my daddy had some interest in them whenever he was young, you know, it sparked it. But it was all really basically just a dream. You know, I've won a lot of major events, but you know, your title, Journey to the Pit, that's what it's all about, is the journey. Every major event that I've ever won, the journey getting there is more memorable for me than the actual event itself. Because, like I said, it's what sparks this is a dream.
Right.
Some of the greatest times that I had was getting up early in the morning and going and taking care of my handful of roosters and hens and stuff before I had to get up and go to work. You know, and I'd have to leave for work before daylight. So, and I'd come back and I'd have some wild, crazy dreams about winning events that would be big enough to buy Mama a new house.
Wow. So, you know the big part about that, it just shows you that all things are possible with some hard work. So you didn't start out, it wasn't the money, it wasn't the connections, it wasn't a pass down of already established families. You started from the dirt in this sport.
It started there's nobody in this sport, nobody, I don't care what level they're on, that I haven't been there.
Wow, that's the truth now. I think those trophies in the background speak volumes.
Right, but there's a bunch more trophies that ain't there no more, you know, that were this tall.
Right.
And those trophies at that time meant as much to me as these trophies here. You know, and I still, right till today, if we win an event and I see a lot of the old cockers that's been at this for 43 years, you know, I've been at this for 43 years. And they'll say, oh, I don't care about the trophy. Just give me the money. I'm not that guy. I will flip the coin for you for the trophy. And if I don't win it, there's a chance that I'm going to have them to buy me one. I still love this sport. I love the victories. I love the trophies. I love the memories.
Wow, that's a powerful statement right there because you're exactly right. We doing this sport here. We say, "Oh, you can have the trophy, just give me the money." Um, but like,
Now, don't get me wrong. I have split the derby with some young people before when I've already been successful, and
right.
uh, and gave them the trophy, and watched the gleam in their eyes. But I will slip around and tell them, hey, order me one of them.
Wow, that's right. And you're right. You can really appreciate giving that trophy to the younger generation because you had been there before and you knew how important it was and what it meant to gain a trophy, especially with a younger generation actually competing in the same event as a guy like yourself, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And through my career, and especially as I've got older, I'm 60 years old now, but I try to be very careful and not become preoccupied around young people in this sport to where they feel that I've turned a cold shoulder to them. I like to give them words of encouragement, and honestly, whenever the young people come to this crowd, that this sport's no different than any other sport. There's some wrong terms that you can take in this sport, and I try to talk to the young people about that, and make sure that they're aware of the choices that they make, because the choice that you make today is the one you'll have to live with tomorrow.
That's right. And Bobby, thank you for saying that because that is to me that's really powerful. Um
So I've
because
made
I think
I've
some
made I've made some choices today that I had to deal with tomorrow, and
yeah,
uh, and
we all have.
good choices have good consequences. Bad choices have bad consequences. But all your choices have consequences.
All of them have consequences. But I'm so glad that you definitely have that attitude, that you don't ever want the younger generation to feel like you have turned a cold shoulder. Because again, your journey
Uh,
has been memorable from the beginning to the end, from where you came from. But you know, we both on two ends of the spectrum. I deal with a lot of people that's coming up in this sport that come to Journey to the Pit for the education, and I see how important these interviews are to these younger people. So that's why I'm always so grateful for guys like yourself to come on the show and share it because you're definitely an inspiration. You're not out here doing stuff just to inspire people. You're just out here just being Bobby Fairchild. But just to let you know, your hard work, your dedication, your success, your ups and downs is inspiration to a lot of individuals out there. So I hope what you just said resonate with a lot of other individuals out there about don't ever turn a cold shoulder or make the younger generation feel like you have turned a cold shoulder to them.
no, I had that done to me whenever like I said, and I wasn't a little kid when I started this, but
Hmm.
to the eyes of most people, I was a nobody until up in the '90s. Uh, and
Mm,
that and there was a few really good breeders, that didn't make me feel very special, and I never wanted to be a part of making anybody feel that way, And
wow.
which, don't get me wrong, you can walk on water, and some days it's better than others, and some
Right.
days I make better choices than I do others,
Right.
but my intentions are good.
That's right. That's exactly right. I'm glad you said that at the beginning because we always everybody gonna watch at least the beginning of these interviews. So Bobby, let's talk about obviously you started out with a small group, like you say, you just gathered up some chickens to get into the sport. Can you share with us remembering like when you first started to kind of get established, like what was your first line that you can kind of remember where you kind of established something like, okay, these are real game chickens?
Oh yeah, I mean, there was there's a guy. He's an older man now. You'll see him on Facebook. He's in there under Pops Sours. Pops, his name to us as a kid was Inola Sours, but his name is James Sours. And James Sours would go to Joe Goods, and he would go to Tom Spurrier's, and he would go to all those places like that. And
Mhm.
Pops would he treated me and my brother. Now he was one of those guys that he didn't. My brother was Stephen Fairchild, and but Pops, he would go and gather these chickens up, and he worked on the road and stuff all the time, and he'd raise offspring out of them, and he would sell them to me and my brother for $5, $6 a piece. I mean, and bring them over and give them to us, whatever. But he made sure that me and my brother undeservedly had quality chickens, and we got, and at that point, we got to see the difference between good quality bred. And Pop started teaching us, you know, some about breeding and stuff. And then long up about then, you know, is whenever we started to become very close with my dear friend today, Gary Gillum. And Gary, we had the roundhead lines for many years, you know, and Gary's been an inspiration to me through this whole deal. And then later in life, I become really close friends with Dink Fair and Mr. Jumper. And those guys taught me a lot about breeding. Guys, I'm telling you, there's a lot more to, you know, to make a good cross and to have good chickens this year, that's one thing. But to be able to take a family of chickens and be able to maintain them for decades, you got to have some strategy and you got to have some knowledge about what you're doing. And if you don't, you'll always be floating around. And
So that's
that's
amazing.
where
So you had
all those guys played a part in, you know, I didn't graduate school, but I went through the eighth grade, and there was more than one teacher taught me how to read, write, and do arithmetic.
mhm,
And
mhm.
and I took a little bit of what each one of them teachers taught me. And it's the same way in the Gamefowl business. You know, there's not any one teacher that taught me everything that I know. But
Right.
sometimes I think I need to be held back just like they done me in the first grade. I think I need to be held back and do the first grade over again sometimes.
No, but you know, Bobby, that's amazing that it kind of started out like that. Um, you know,
I
how did you
started
meet
out
Pops?
I started out as amateur as anybody in this sport. Nobody in
Mhm,
this sport started out any more amateur than I did.
mhm. So, Bobby, how
Uh,
did you meet Pops?
through the coon dogs, through the competition, genetic breeding of the hounds. Him and my daddy. Now, Pops was quite a bit older than I am. He's probably 20 something years older than I am. Him and
Mhm,
my daddy were very good friends,
mhm,
and really, really good friends up until my daddy left this earth.
mhm.
And that's where we got most of all of my early years. It all revolved around. I've been involved in genetic breeding my whole life,
Right.
just not with the chickens until I got to be 18
Mhm.
years old.
Right.
But with the coon dogs, horses, cows, genetic livestock of all kinds. I knew about genetics before I ever got involved in the game fowl. But
So
it involved even, you know, to a greater height and greater understanding after I got involved in the game fowl. But that's where it was. My dad and Pops coon hunted together.
that's how you got started. But I guess too, also, you by you experiencing the genetic aspect of it as well, from dealing with the coons and the cows and all these different types of things, it allowed you kind of like I ain't gonna say a head start, but you got a great understanding of you knew how important genetics were when you got in the game foul, right?
Sure, sure.
And like you said, you know, it's one thing to have a family that's good for 1 season or 2 seasons. The hardest part is to have a family that lasts a decade or longer as you continue
Exactly.
to right?
Exactly.
So, and I'm gonna bring this back and just make a point about this because I had a conversation with an individual from the Virgin Islands today. Now, you just said you didn't graduate from school. You learned a little here, a little there, a little there. You had some great mentors. So basically, you didn't need to know all the scientific terminology for genetics to produce great fowl, great coon dogs, great cows. Do you agree?
Agree.
Okay.
But
And that was just something
science,
I wanted to share. I wanted to
science is necessary in this.
okay. Science is definitely necessary. So I think the art,
Yeah,
you know, breeding is definitely so you have to understand genetics.
exactly.
But, you know, you have to understand genetics, and there is no way around it. But I just wanted to let them know that you don't have to be highly educated to understand
No,
genetics. That was my point.
Jim, I got a completion of seventh grade, and we've had a pretty successful career. You know,
Mhm.
uh, not the most successful person in this sport, you know, but definitely not the least successful. person in this sport. And I believe hard work and perseverance is the difference between us and a lot of us, because it takes a lot of dedication to do this. That's why a lot of people get in and out of this sport, because it's a lot of dedication, and it's really time consuming.
Right. And we're going to talk about that as well, or how you push through the tough times and stuff like that, because we all know in this sport, you run into hard times, whether it's a predator running through the yard, cleaning out your brood stock, or a storm coming through, blowing into everything over, from job issues, financial issues, marital issues, whatever. We all go through those type of things. And like you say, a lot of people cause some people to get out of the sport. And we're going to talk about later, what kept you in it through all of those hard times. But before we get through that, I would like to talk about like the first bloodline that you felt as though you established. And then we're going to kind of walk through where you at today with your brown reds and your famous Fairchild Grays. But what bloodline did you establish at a younger age when you started?
Oh, I had some white chickens that come from an old man named Houston Allen. It was probably my first established line. They was a white claret, and they was yellow-legged, yellow-beaked, and solid white. And I wouldn't even really say that I established those, but I maintained them. I kept them, but I was real young, and over a period of time, I lost them.
You did,
without a doubt. I had the Cheryl Penny chickens from Mr. Jim Bryant for a long time, and maintained those for several years. But the gray chickens that we have today has been the ones that we've had these since established since 1988. And Jim, for us, we've tested them hard the last 2 years, and they're just as good for me as they ever was.
Wow. And you said that's from the 80s, huh?
Yeah.
Those grays?
The gray ones, yes. Some people ask me, they say, how did you make those gray chickens so well known? I said, I didn't. I said, they made me well known.
So you said that, they made you well known because of their performance, correct?
Absolutely.
Wow. So what was the makeup of these grays?
Man, when I break all that down, it's going to sound like some crossed up junk.
Hey, but the result.
I hear these guys all so scared to breed crosses and this and that. Man, if it wasn't for cross chickens, we wouldn't have nothing.
Thank you. Say it louder.
Yeah, because gray chickens are green-legged and straight comb. If they're 100% gray, they're 100% green-legged and straight comb.
Okay.
Those are not my kind of gray chickens. I like white and yellow-legged gray chickens, and I prefer white-legged chickens, white-legged grays. But it's hard to find real good ones. It's kind of like in the coon hunting. It's a kind of an inside joke. I like hunting blue tick dogs, but finding good blue ticks is tough. And it's the same way with white-legged grays. I have to be very careful what I do with these white-legged grays, because if you got radios, or you got Albanese, or you got Kelsos or something, and something goes wrong, you can just run down the road and find you some more pretty good ones and fix them.
That's right.
Well, with these white-legged gray chickens, you got to be careful, because when these white-legged gray chickens go bad, you can't just run down the road and find some more to fix them.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I took two. Now you understand, I wasn't on a major circuit, and I wasn't raising these chickens for anybody other than me.
Okay.
So when I made these gray chickens, I wasn't trying to satisfy what anybody else thought I should do. There was a man in our area named Cecil Swepston. Cecil Swepston never fought outside of Oklahoma, or mainly there was just about three little pits right there that he played in, and he dominated in those areas. And I bred these gray chickens. It was me, Paul Sparks, Randy Jackson, and Mark Seabolt. And in the beginning, any one of those guys were probably more responsible for making these gray chickens than I was. But they made their side of it. I'm the one that made mine.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Paul Sparks, Mark Seabolt got the gray chickens from Johnny Bennett.
Okay.
And Paul Sparks got them from Mark. And Randy Jackson had the ones from Cecil Swepson. Paul and Randy made the Bennetts and the Cecils.
Okay.
All right. And I wound up with 4 of those cocks that were, and I made them where they was 5/8 Cecil and 3/8 Johnny Bennett. And Randy Jackson brought me some half round head and half sweater pullets. Now this is all back in the 80s, guys.
Right.
Brought me some half sweater and half round head pullets.
Mm-hmm.
Most people think that the roundhead blood was from Gillum, but it wasn't. It was some Skeeter roundhead blood, and some of Dink Fair sweater blood. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now I believe that Cecil's blood and Johnny Bennett's blood both had Gary's roundhead blood in it. I don't know. It was. But I bred one of those cocks to those half roundhead and half sweater hens, and then I took the offspring out of that and I bred to his brother. And then I took the offspring out of that and I came back to the original cock. That's what I made mine out of. You call them what you want to. I call them mine.
That's right. Well, it was your combination and the result of your decision, so they are yours.
They are mine. That's why people, and so many people want to call them Joe Goods or Pete Frost or this and that. I said, man, if you purchase them, you can call them what you want to, but I'm not calling them that. I said, because that is not, they're unique. They're not like anybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
And typically when you breed chickens like that, they breed 1 or 2 generations and then they go bad.
Right.
These chickens is maintained and they've held up good. But I have not inbred these chickens like father to daughter, mother to son, brother to sister. I do not breed like that. And I know a lot of you old timers are gonna shake your head at me and point your finger at me, but I don't like breeding like that. I don't like it.
Well, I think it goes back to you have had your own success, and I think that's the purpose. You know, we talked about this earlier of why some guys like you be asking redundant questions, Jim. I said I ask redundant questions because I'm talking to different people, and that's just to show you that there's many ways to get to success. You come on and you share your way of breeding. The last person was on did something the opposite, but everybody has had their own success in their own right, and that's why I think it's important for you to share. You know, like you say, you don't do any kind of inbreeding, and you said that people always talk about don't breed cross chickens. So basically, what you're saying is you don't have no problem breeding cross chickens, huh?
Not at all. Not at all. You know, when you start breeding cross chickens, you're starting all over again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, Bill Baumgartner was famous for saying, "I breed the best to the best, and I hope for the best," because there's no way of knowing until you try it. You know, a lot of people say, "Well, I got this and I got that. You think I should breed the cock or the hen?" The only way to do that is breed the cock on top on one side and breed the other cock on top on the other, or the hen. You know, the only way to find out in your inbreeding is to do it and see.
That's right. So guys shouldn't be discouraged in trying stuff with their own chickens. You actually encourage people. If you want to, if you want to find something out, you can do it.
But I also encourage you to find some place and get settled down. And if you've been breeding chickens for 10 years and you ain't found something you like by now,
Mm-hmm.
chances are you probably ain't going to.
Got you.
And I strongly discourage young people from getting 5, 6, 7, 8 different lines of chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, you know, you see a lot of guys, they raise, you know, 100 roosters a year or less, and they got 7 different kinds of chickens. They'll never know too much about what they got. Got too many different kinds of chickens, and there's no way that you can maintain all that.
Because it's very difficult to learn it with one family, with the knowledge that you have. So let alone trying to do 2, 3, and 4 families, and you don't even possess the knowledge and the eye for selection and all that to be able to maintain. That's basically what you're saying, right?
I got other chickens that I play with. I say play with. I like them or they wouldn't be here, and I like them a lot or they wouldn't be here. But I got 4 families that runs this farm.
Okay, what's their families, Bobby?
The gray, the brown red, the sweater, and the Kelso. The brown red being the newest family. All the rest of them I've had since the very beginning of the 1990s. The brown reds I've had for about 10 years now.
Brown race you had about 10 years. So
Yeah,
Bobby,
every year for the first 5 years, I look for a reason to get rid of them.
and they wouldn't give you one, huh? Just gave you a reason to keep them.
No, when I carried them to Mexico to the World Gaff Derby, my intention was to go over there and make them prove to me that they had a place on this farm.
Wow. So that testing is a huge part of your selection process and a determination if they still have a home there or not.
If they hadn't tested well over there, they wouldn't be here today. Which now I had 2 purposes. I had 2 purposes for going over there.
Okay.
Duke Farm, Josh Duke's like a son to me. And I wanted Josh had been under a bush, and I wanted him to come out, and I wanted the people to see him, and I wanted them to get to know him. And I took Josh over there, and I let him release the roosters, and I let Josh do everything, and I let him in all the pictures and all the limelights. And I tell you something, the young man has done a great job at maintaining a line of poultry and running the farm. And he's a great family man and a great man, and I'm really, really proud of him.
Yeah, he came on the show and did an interview. Josh is a good guy, a really good guy, and I think he's definitely a role model and inspiration because he's young. I always tell him, I said, dude, you look like you drive trucks or somebody. Look like you like 17 years old. That dude look like a little kid.
He's got priorities, you know. I mean, he loves Jesus Christ, and he loves his family, and he loves Gamecocks, and he does it in that order.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And I'm assuming that's the foundation of his success by having his priorities in order, having God in his life, having taken care of his family, and having great mentors as well, but willing to put in the work that it takes to hopefully follow in the same tracks that you laid before him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. You know, that's what I tell him. I say he ain't really my son, but I wished he was.
Yeah,
I got 2 sons that I'm proud of, but I would add him to the collection.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So Bobby, tell us. So since you talked about the 4 families, is there anything more you can tell us about how did you come across or decide to even entertain the brown reds? You know what I mean? How did that come about within your program?
I had a friend of mine that's been one of my customers and a dear friend of mine for many, many years now. A guy in the Philippines named Jessary Palmares.
Okay.
And Jessary had called me and told me about another friend of mine having some chickens over there in Arkansas. A guy named Cody and Kenny Henderson. I remember whenever Cody was born, you know, and they're really great guys. But I didn't know they had these brown reds. And another guy over there in the Philippines, he wanted to buy them. And so that guy called me, and I go over there, and he asked me if I could go over and look at them, and I said yeah. So I go over there, and there's 12 roosters, and they're all half breeds except 2, and 2 of them are pure ones, and they were pure Mel Sims is what they was, and they had the most perfect conformation of any 2 roosters that I had ever been around. And
wow.
And anyway, so whenever I got those roosters back to the house, I called that guy, and I told him, I said, hey, I said, you got 2 roosters in this bunch that I'd like to have. I said, I want to trade you a gray rooster for them 2 brown red roosters. He said, no, I'll trade you 2 brown reds for 2 gray roosters. And I said, man, that don't even make sense. I said, I ain't doing that. And so anyway, I wound up trading him 1 gray rooster for those 2 brown reds. And I played with them a little bit, and I liked them. They were very impressive. And I went to another guy, Donald Trammell's, and got the hens that went with them. Not Don, Daryl Trammell. Okay. Donald Trammell is also a really good friend of mine, but I went to Daryl Trammell's and got those hens. And so I raised out of those 2 roosters in the first year. and their conformation was perfect. Everything was really great about them. They just they just lacked a little something, and I was going to get rid of them. And my friend Charlie Jones called me. He said, "Hey," he said, "I heard you had them brown reds. What are you going to do with them?" I said, "I'm going to give them to you if you want to come get them." I said, "I've tried them." I said, "And I don't like them." I said, "They're beautiful to look at." I said, "But," I said, that's about it." He said, "No." He said, I know what their problem is, and I'm not going to say what their problem was on this interview.
Yeah.
They had one problem, and
Right.
and anyway, and so I called Mickey Emmanuel Massa, and I had Mickey Emmanuel to send me a brother and sister,
Mm-hmm.
and this is 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I took my brother and sister and bred to their brother and sister, and then I took the offspring off of that and run them right back into each other. And that's what my brown reds are, guys.
Wow.
I think several other people tried the same thing, and it didn't work for them.
Because they didn't have the roosters that you had used.
Didn't have the ones that I had. You know, that's all.
That's right.
All. And you know, and the ones that I had, all of them wasn't good. But the ones that I kept and went back with and continued the lines with, they were good. And I'm talking about, I've seen some that was better at ABC and some better at XYZ, but from A to Z, these has got the full package. And like I said, for 10 years, I've been looking for a reason to get rid of them. And,
so tell me this, Bobby. In the 10 years, and obviously, you know, they did well. They proved themselves in the gaff over there in Mexico. Did that make you like them more when you returned, or were you still kind of on the fence with them?
No, I stay on the fence. I stay on the fence with everything. You know, I mean, I'm always looking to try to make something better and keep moving forward. You know, that's one of the things that I learned from Jumper. You know, we're not going to get stuck on the past, stuck on the present.
Right.
But we're always moving forward. But no, I'm very, very content with them at this time. I've seen some other dark chickens that I like real good, but I've never seen none that I like any better than these, you know.
Right. So there's no reason to bring anything other than, like you say,
if you go back in history, in 43 years, I've never had another family of black chickens. It's the only family of dark chickens I've ever had.
Wow. And you're known for them brown reds. That's one thing too.
And they've done it, you know, because I haven't really pushed them real hard or anything until the last few years, you know, because we're so busy keeping up with the gray chickens. And the grays and the brown reds cross extremely well together.
Oh, so that was going to be my next question. Well, I guess those two families, you done already spilt the beans now. Those two families right there cross real well together.
Exactly. And now I didn't make that cross for a long time because now you understand the gray chickens is the most dear chickens I got to my heart. If you want to wind up in a brood pen with one of my gray chickens, you're going to have to prove yourself to me. I'm not going to just stick anything in there and cross, because you know when the offspring comes out, they're gray in color.
Right.
So if something ain't right, we're not going to see nothing but gray.
Right.
And and so you got to earn respect to go into brood pen with those.
Wow. Huh. So Bobby,
I'm talking about a lot more than just gameness. And a lot of people, they try to put a lot of emphasis on gameness, and you know we got to have that, but there's a lot more things to a gamecock than just that.
Yeah, that's it. This is not a one-dimensional sport, and that's what I tell guys. This is not one-dimensional, and anybody who's harping so much on one characteristic, to me, you setting yourself up for failure, because again, this is a multi-dimensional sport, just like any other sport. Boxing, MMA, you got to have more than just one. You know, Mike Tyson had good movement.
I've seen a lot of my friends and stuff in this sport, man. They just love impressive losers.
Yeah, I think it's a pride thing.
They're just tickled to death with 50%ers if as long as they can do it real impressive. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. If that's what you like, because
Yep.
at the end of the day, that's who you got to make happy is you.
That's right.
And I didn't start out selling chickens because I wanted to sell chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I started out selling chickens because people came wanting to buy chicken.
Mm-hmm. Based on performance, I mean, based on what they have seen throughout the world, that's why they came.
And right, and I wanted to quit punching a time clock because I wanted to be home with my family, and I wanted to be able to spend time with the chickens and on the farm. There's no place I'd rather be than home. Home is where I like to be.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I could do that is to sell chicken.
Got you.
I'm not saying that's the only way it can be done, but that's the only way I can do it at this time.
Right. And I guess another important thing that you reiterated is you're breeding the chickens based on what you like. You're breeding the chickens for you, and then people come along and like what you like.
I get hung up every once in a while on wanting to breed what other people tells me they want me to breed. But I always catch myself and back up because I raise these chickens for me. And if you don't like them, that's understandable because there's nobody out there that's got chickens that somebody don't like them. That's just the bottom line. And if you don't like what I got, I respect that. And if you can respectfully not like them, that's fine. I don't want to listen to a bunch of disrespect and stuff, because it's unnecessary.
Right.
But I got there's people out there that don't like some of my chickens, and that's fine. I respect that. I like it.
But I think I think you said it loud and clear too.
And they have been pretty good to me.
Well, exactly. Well, and it seems like that is a philosophy that you have carried ever since the beginning, because you said that.
And here's the deal: is that
connected.
Most all of these trophies back here are not from back in the day.
Right.
These trophies are within the last 2 years. Okay, we got another whole bunch of trophies that's done got old and started to deteriorate and stuff, and we've moved them out and moved these new trophies in here. But these trophies have all been won in the last few years.
Wow. But Bobby, what I think is so amazing too is the fact that, like you say, you got hung up every once in a while, but you got right back on track. But I think it's also amazing too, a breeder with your resources, your knowledge and the size farms that you have, you literally could have been breeding what customers want. But you said, nah, I'm not breeding what customers want. I'm gonna breed what I like and just serve the customers that like what I like.
That's exactly right.
A lot of guys don't do that. A lot of guys just follow the money.
You wear yourself out trying to make everybody happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not good, And honestly, I envy some of the breeders that have two families. You go to Gary and Brady Gillum's house, and Brady's got roundhead roosters over here, hatch roosters over here. That's it. Nothing else.
Wow.
That's pretty simple.
But again, I guess they just another example as well. People are coming to them because they share a common thing. They like exactly what Mr. Gillens like as well. But like I said, I take my hat off to you because, again, everybody can do what they want. But for you to be at the competitive level that you are, and you never had to follow trends to get to that level, speaks volumes. One of the reasons is you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you can create or improve the families that you have that compete against any trend that's out there. Right?
That's exactly right.
So I think that, again, that might be
over 90% of the major events that we've won have been with gray and gray crosses.
And I think that speaks volumes because a lot of individuals don't believe, and you know this better than I do, people that follow trends, it. Somebody win a big competition with a new cross or do something like that, and everybody and their mama want it. You know it. It's probably has always. I don't know if it's always been like that or not from the 80s and 90s or whatever. But I know since I've been in it, it has always been everybody just follow the trend. They see this happen and they get over there. You know, they see that cross and now all of a sudden they jumping on that. But I think you're a great example that you're still breeding the same chickens from what, the 80s? The 80s, them grays from the 80s.
Yeah, 80s and 90s.
And they have stood the test of time on countless trends. I bet you can't even count the amount of trends that have came about within the sport.
I've been a victim of some of those trends.
You have? How?
Sammy Ramsey like to wore me out of at Sunset. I was dominating everything and everybody, but I couldn't dominate that little rascal.
Tell us that. What tell us some details about that.
Sammy, he just had them little hatch grays that he made up, you know. And you know, some people didn't like them, and he said, "I can't help it. I love them," you know. But I met him 3 or 4 times up at Sunset, and he just whipped the fire out of me every time. Them hatch claret round heads that Junior Belt had. I never did whoop one of them suckers.
You never did, huh?
No.
But the great thing is, like I say, I think
I never did own none of them either.
So that's amazing too, because
I mean, I just kept right on with what I had, you know, and tried to get mine to step up there, you know.
Right. Well, you know, that's amazing, because a lot of guys would have said, you know what, if I can't beat them, I got to join them. You said, no, I'm not joining them. I keep on going into them and losing, but I'm gonna keep on continue doing what I'm doing. But I'm not. You said you're not joining them, huh?
No, I said, whatever girl I come to the dance with, that's who I'm dancing with.
Well, so Bobby, now tell us about your sweaters now, because you said you have 4 families. So let's talk a little bit about your sweaters.
Love them. And I absolutely believe they're better now than they ever was, you know. And I started out with the stuff from Dink. The ones that I had all the lines of Dinks, you know, but the ones that I seem to like the best is the 5K line. And
Okay.
you know, a lot of people call their stuff the 5K line, you know, because that's what's popular. But I call mine the 5K line because it comes from the line that Dink had whenever Dink bred the 5K cock. Everybody says they got pure 5Ks. I don't know how that's possible when there was only one rooster.
Wow. Huh. Hey guys, if y'all watching this, chime on. I mean, not chime in, but listen to what he just said now. Listen to what he just said, because again, it's a lot of, you know, information that's going out there, but when you fact check it, it's not making any sense. So you basically saying you don't know how they can have pure when it was only one.
Right. You know, but you know, I mean, they made a line off of that 5K cock.
Right.
Okay. Then, but Carol Blackwater Farm, he showed that rooster up at Sunset. Him and Mr. Eugene Brown,
Mm-hmm.
Oak Grove, Gene Brown's daddy, John Brown's grandpa. They showed that rooster up there, and Mr. Jim Ken offered them $5,000 for him, and they didn't sell him. And so they say, "Oh, what's that?" He said, "Oh, he's off that $5,000 rooster."
Wow, that was a story, right? That's how they got that name.
Yeah, and then somehow or another through the line, you know, Dink wound up breeding that cock, and I lived there in Oklahoma, right down there by Dink.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I wound up with that, you know. But you know, John Brown, John, he still has a picture of the $5,000 rooster that's at his house.
Wow. So tell me this, Bobby. How long have you had those?
I've had them since '90. I got the first sweaters from Dink in '91. Actually, I got them from somebody that got them from Dink, and then in '95, I believe it was, I got them from Dink.
Mm-hmm. So they also has stood the test of time as well.
Oh yeah, no, I've had these for a while, and you know, and like I said, I believe with all my heart they're better now than they was then. They're not as when I first got them, they was pretty bitey. You know, they was a little bit. They they wasn't just bitey. They'd knock the hell out of you. Just to be honest with you. But
Wow.
they're real. But they're real gentle and docile now. You know, I mean, I've done some things. You know, I'm not going to go into all the details of everything
Right.
I've done breeding chickens.
Right.
But they're all everything that's in them is off the $5,000 line.
Wow. So let's go ahead and talk about the last family that you have.
The last family that I had.
So that's gonna be 4. So you talked about your grays, you talk about your brown reds, you talk about your sweaters, and then there's one other one, right?
The Kelso chickens, I got them from Dink about the same time we got the sweater chickens. Okay. But I probably got the Kelsos in like 95, 94, somewhere right in there. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was back early 90s.
Okay.
And I remember that the original cock that I got was a rooster that my wife nicknamed Longtail. He had the biggest, not just streamers, his whole tail. It was the biggest, longest tail, and now he was he was a little bit ill too. My wife gathered the eggs and stuff, and I'd have to put him on a tie cord in a brood pen because he would hit so hard that he would hurt her.
Wow.
And but over the time, we've got them where they're not I don't have the patience to tolerate mean roosters. Now the brown reds, they're no different than anybody else's dark chickens. They if you don't handle them right and you don't show them the right respect, they will let you know it.
Right.
But if you take your time, you're gentle with them, and you show them that you respect them, they'll respect you, and you won't have no issues with them. I have absolutely no issues with the brown reds being mean whatsoever. But if you start snatching them up by the tie cord and taking your hat and pushing them around,
Right.
won't be long. You won't have no hard time catching them because you'll be right in your face.
Okay. Well, tell me this, Bobby. What made you, because like you said, when you got them, they was a little feisty and a little bitey at first. So what made you just kind of tolerate that? Did you know that, hey, let me try a couple of things and I can kind of work this out of them? Is that what made you just tolerate them?
Whenever the second chance that I gave them was out of respect for my friend Charlie Jones.
Okay.
Okay, I was done with them.
Okay.
But whenever I made that blend right there, it immediately calmed them down. Because now the first ones, you couldn't hang a feed cup on the pen. You try to hang a feed cup on the pen, he just blah 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 blah. He'd try to tear the wire loose off the pen while you was hanging the cup on it.
Wow. But
Charlie, which I got a lot of respect for Charlie. Charlie's a great rooster man that worked with Duke Hulsey, Mel Sims, and Bob Bassett out in California. You know, Charlie was actually there when they made these brown reds, because the Duke Hulsey stuff that I got from Mickey Emanuel and the Mel Sims, it's really not two completely different lines. When they made those, Mel Sims, Duke Hulsey, Bob Bassett, and Charlie Jones was all out in California under the Jones boys and at the Filipino camp. And that's the way I understand it. They started this with one rooster they called the shake cock. He was a big rooster. And so Mel, Bob, and Duke all had this same line. But they went their own individual ways with it. So that's what, whenever I had the stuff with Mel, and Mel had some really good chickens. I'm talking about the individuals that I started with, not Mel's chickens as a line or as a whole.
right.
Mel was a really good friend of mine, but I never knew a whole lot about his chickens.
Okay.
But the one rooster that I got, I didn't get from Mel. But that's what they said he was. They said he was a pure male, and or the two of them, the two brothers, and then I had, I think, 5 hens that I started with. But whoever they was, whatever they was junkyard dog meat.
They were, huh?
Yeah. But whenever I put that masa blood, that citrus, whenever I put that blood in there and blended it together, I love them.
So, Bobby, did it take about how many generations did it take to kind of get them to the way you like them?
3.
3 generations.
Yeah, the very first one was a considerable amount of difference. Was a considerable about an amount of difference, you know. But and so, you know, the first 3 years that I bred them, I was just kind of playing with them. I wasn't so sure about them.
Right. So Bobby, tell me, this is one question too from the comment section. So with your 4 breeds, like you say, you got 4 families on the yard, the youngest one being 10 years old.
I got more than 4 families. I just don't recommend that you have more than 4. But I got 4 main families.
4 main families. Okay. So throughout this time, I'm sure you have had different families that you kind of tried and got rid of and stuff like that. Have you been through that as well? Maybe brought something in and tried it, didn't like it?
I do it all the time. I do it all the time.
Okay.
I wind up with chickens coming through here all the time that I don't ever let nobody have none of.
Mm-hmm.
That I just play with, and they say they don't make the team.
Right. That's right. That's right. And I wanted you to share that as well, just to let individuals know, like you say, don't definitely recommend more than 4 families, because it is a lot of work. It's very tough. But also too, is nothing wrong with doing, like I call it R&D, research and development. Always just got your eye open for something else. You don't, put a whole bunch of it in your yard. You don't put a whole bunch of time in it. But like you said, you bring a little in and check it out. If you don't like what you see in whatever amount of time you give them, then you just move on. But you don't start bringing it in.
Stop looking for a reason to keep them. When you got those, you're looking for a reason to get rid of them.
Okay. So you'll be better off if you're looking at them for a reason to get rid of them than trying to make excuses why to keep them on the yard.
Exactly. When you start making excuses for them, you're not hurting nobody but yourself.
Right.
Like I said, they always ask me, everybody knows that Gary Gillum is one of my greatest mentors. They said one of the best things he ever taught me was that there's a whole bunch of roosters, a whole bunch of dead roosters will fit in a wheelbarrow.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's probably the hardest thing for a lot of people in this sport to do as well. It seems like they have more reasons to keep them than reasons to get rid of them. I think they should probably.
Jim would not believe the people that come here that want me to let them breed my crooked-toed, light-eyed, crooked-breasted. I'm like, guys, my junk will produce junk just like anybody else's. The way to advance in this is to breed the best of the best. But when you start downbreeding, you're going to downbreed.
That, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I actually, when I was out at your house, and as you was going down there selecting and banning, I seen you call some stuff just being out there, and I was just like, And you told me out your own mouth, you said, I catch it right now so I can make sure it never get in the customer's hands. You said that's exactly what I did.
Every once in a while something might slip past me, but guys, there's nobody that tries any harder for their customers than I do, because I did not like punching a time clock. I hated punching a time clock. I felt like I was in jail when I had to punch that time clock. My people made it possible for me to not punch that time clock. I appreciate them and I love them for it. And I'm not here to steal nobody's money. I'm not here to do none of that. The prices that I ask, they're not the cheapest prices in the world. I understand that. But whenever I go out there, I'm trying to select something that I think is going to make, when you open the box, I want you to go, wow, old man treated me right.
Well, it speaks volumes. And the reason why I say it speaks volumes that I seen you do that, because like you said, with the prices you get, you could have literally sold that. Like you say, you could sell the cricket toes and all. And you're like, no. So, I mean, that speaks volumes, because, you walking past something that can get X amount of dollars. And you're like, oh, that ain't going to
work. I've sold some that had some crooked toes and stuff, and posted them. Jim, I can knock $150 off the price of a pure one and put him on there with a bad toe and a bad eye and this and that. and they just eat them up, and I can't stand it.
Mm.
And I just don't. I don't like sticking my wing bands in them. I don't like because my wing bands got my name on them.
That's right.
And I just don't like it.
Well, I seen it firsthand. Like I say, you definitely ain't afraid to do no culling, and you sure set out your own mouth. I had to catch it now, Jim, before make a mistake and get in one of my customers' hands. And I'm just like, what? You just walking through and just had to know up, call them right there on a cord. And I'm like, wow, why you do that? And when you turn to me and said, I have to do that because if I don't do it now, there's a good chance I might make a mistake and it'll get in one of my customers' hands. So again, I think
Yeah,
that's a result.
I'll do it on physical and mental defects.
Mm-hmm.
Because every once in a while, as many chickens as I raise, every once in a while, I got one that's got mental defects. Nothing wrong with him physically. Perfect conformation, perfect toes, perfect eyes. But mentally, he just something ain't right about him. And those are the things that'll get past you. And he'll wind up in somebody's hands,
So Bobby, tell me this: being out there, walking through, feeding, and all that, your culling process is pretty much as long as they're on the farm, there's a possibility they can be culled, huh?
At any minute.
At any minute. Well, I seen that firsthand. You did
When
snap
I
out
got
of nowhere.
when I got 300 or 400 roosters on ropes, the chances of me walking through there all day long and not finding one, pretty slim.
Pretty slim, huh?
Yeah.
And would you say that is definitely a huge component to the success of maintaining these families?
No successful breeder has ever not done that.
Got you.
I didn't make that up. I learned
Mhm.
that. I learned that from my mentors before me.
So guys, like Bobby said, look for reasons to get rid of them, not for reasons to keep them. And as long as they own a yard, they could be culled at any minute. So just because you was in love with him 6 months ago, if you go out there and he's not right, it's this time to cull. But tell me this, Bobby, what is some of the things as you doing walkthroughs, out there feeding, watering, and all caring for them? What are some of the things that will make you cull?
And a lot of it, Jim, is instinct. I have a relationship. I have a relationship with gamecocks and other animals as well. I can see defects where other people doesn't. A lot of times it's just he'll take a step and his steps are funny. And a lot of times I might not cull him today, but if I see that, I make a mental note. And tomorrow, if I come through there and he's still got that funny step, he's out of here.
Got you.
And and then of course, if I find 3 of them that's that way, I'm going to go through and check their toe marks and see if there's a genetic problem.
So observation, observation, observation. Every day is not just going out there throwing feed and filling up water cups.
No, and and I don't have. Whenever I say something, I don't want anybody to think that I'm criticizing the way they do things. I'm just talking about the way I do things.
Well, that's why we got you on here. We want to know about you.
We don't feed off of a golf cart.
Okay.
We walk. Because feed time is inspection time. And if you think that you can inspect properly going 5 mile an hour on a golf cart, you cannot.
Got you. And guys, like
When
Bobby just said,
the roosters make the string yard, we feed the string yard and the pens every day on foot. Now, sometimes when I'm running medicine and stuff, and I got a bunch of water in that feed and the buckets is heavy, I feed off the golf cart.
That's right.
Side by side, but our typical everyday routine, we walk because feed time is inspection time, and you shouldn't have to stop and stare at every rooster to inspect him. If at 43 years old, at 43 years invested into this, I can walk through there and I can feed that rooster yard, and I see problems. I see problems that most people don't even see.
You catch that. So guys,
and it's not just with the chickens. You're inspecting the rooster. You're inspecting 3 or 4 different parts of a tie cord. You're inspecting those fescue clumps get in the tie cord area. You know, you got, especially this time of the year, you got a fescue clump in that tie cord, and he gets wrapped around there. He's dead in 15 minutes.
Because of that heat.
Yes. It was 101 here today, Jim.
Mm.
Yeah, it was 101 degrees here today. A rooster gets tied up. On a grass clump or a stick or something in the tie cord area. In 15 minutes, he's dead. Sometimes less than that.
Especially with no shade and 100, and it probably is 101, but it feels probably like it's 115 out there.
Yeah, it's
because there ain't a bit of shade out there. I've been out there, ain't a bit of shade. So you're right. If they get stuck out there and can't hide behind them barrels or follow that shade around them barrels, they are gonna be laid out.
Yeah. You know, I mean, as far as we don't lose a lot of varmints around here. We got some of the best chicken dogs in the world. I know everybody thinks they got good chicken dogs, but we got these Kangles. We don't ever lose nothing to varmints.
So have you always had those Kangles? I think when I came out, you had some little baby ones.
No, I've had these Kangles. I've had these Kangles for the last 6 or 7 years. Yeah, I had them whenever you was here, Jim.
Yeah, I know. I seen them when I was out there.
I've got one female that's run my yard for going on 7 years now. I've never lost one rooster under her watch, not one. I lost tail feathers 2 times, but never lost a rooster.
Wow. And I would like to get into something of the dogs, but we got to finish the chicken stuff first, because that's a very, very important aspect. So your dogs are a huge part of your program on that farm, huh?
Oh yeah, they're my employees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they work for me. If my dogs don't work, they don't live here. I used to make a joke and tell them there was only room for one lazy individual, and I got that covered.
I know that's right. Ain't no room for no laziness around this building, huh?
No.
So Bobby, it's been a lot of questions in the comment sections about, because you said that you don't inbreed, and for somebody to be as successful as you are competing at that level, is there any way you can talk a little bit about the methods, like the way that you do breed? You said you don't do any inbreeding. Is there any way you can
whenever I say I don't do any inbreeding, okay, now there's exceptions to all rules. I'm not going to say that I've never not bred back to a daddy or never not bred back to a mother or something, you know, because I have. But the way I was taught when I first started was you breed mother to daughter or mother to son, father to daughter 5 times, then brother and sister, and start all over. That absolutely don't work for me. If it works for you, God bless you. And many successes. Does not work for me. I've tried it for years. And when I got with Dink and Jumper, you know, they taught me that if you got a new family or you got a family you start with, take your 2 very nicest pullets and single mate them, and then take your stag out of one pullet and breed to the other one the next year, and vice versa. And that way you're breeding your nephews back to the aunts. Or you can take them and breed them to their daddy's brother.
Uncles.
Yes, that's the way we breed. But now we always step out one generation and then come back to the grandparents.
Okay, because I was going to ask you what you mean by step out. So you do that breeding down, like you say, you single mate, go down, first cousin, go over to first cousin that way. Then you can take something out of that, go back to uncle and aunt, and then something out of that can go back to the grandparents.
If I was going to start today to maintain a line, typically the way I would do it is I would breed this rooster to the 2 nicest females that I wanted to breed to, typically sisters. And then next year, I would breed her son to her sister and her son to her sister.
Got you.
And I would breed this cock to something else outside to make battle crosses or whatever, or not breed him at all. Then the next year, I would take the nicest pullets out of each one of these, and I would single mate back to this original cock.
Got you.
And then we would take the nicest stag out of her and breed to her, and the nicest stag out of her and breed to her. And then we'd start all over. You know, you can take a rooster and 2 females, and in 3 years have at least one family with 5 lines.
Wow. By breeding exactly like you just described.
That way you're concentrating on the line and not so much just the individual. If I got 5 brothers out there and only one of them are nice enough for me to breed, I'm not breeding none of them.
Got you. Mm-hmm.
Let alone if I got 8 or 9 brothers.
Right.
And only one of them, and I got one outstanding and the rest of them are average, I'm not breeding him.
You're not breeding them. Because I guess you're looking at the genetics, if the production, the quality is just too low. 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 7 or 2 out of 12. You're like, whoa, percentage is not high enough.
Because and especially on a commercial aspect of raising for my customers and stuff, because I already know that not all of my customers are going to do their job like they're supposed to. They're not going to go through the culling process and everything. If I was just raising them for myself, well then I could raise out of them and cull them down and just keep the best ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish they would. But all of my customers are not going to do that.
That's right.
They're going to fall in love. They're going to fall in love with every one of them.
Yep. So you basically had to set them up for success by minimizing their choices.
Exactly.
By minimizing.
And sometimes I still fail. Sometimes you still get a customer that just can't seem to figure it out. But I promise you, there's nobody in this business that tries any harder than I do or that cares any more than I do. I want my people to be successful with my fowl.
That's right. And guys, Bobby just explained how he do it. So I know a lot of guys in the comments like, well, how do he maintain a line if he doesn't inbreed? Well, he just explained it. It's very, very the method is simple. Obviously, the most difficult part is
I just shared a lot of information that a lot of breeders won't share with you on here,
Mm-hmm.
But
that's right. That's exactly right. And basically, like he said, I guess the most difficult part is going to be the selection process after you do those breeding. So he shared his formula. Now it's up to you to do your selection. Like you said, some guys just gonna fall in love with everything. And Bobby, like, that ain't gonna be the answer. You can't fall in love with everything. He gave you the method. Now it's up to you to do your selection process, correct?
It's exactly right. But if I could ever teach anybody anything, quit looking for so much stuff that's right and start looking for things that are wrong.
That's step 1 of the selection process, I guess.
Yeah. Whenever I was real young growing up, my daddy was a horse trader. Most everybody would walk up to a horse and look at the whole horse individual as one piece. And man, if he had a real pretty shoulder and a head and a neck, they would just fall in love with that horse. My daddy never looked at a horse like that. When he walked up to a horse, he started with the hoof, and he went to the hock, and then he went to the leg, and then he went to the knee, and worked his way up, and he looked that horse over one piece at a time. And when he got done looking at that horse, he had an overall score of that horse. And every horse he ever looked at, he could find at least one thing wrong with him.
Wow. And that's the same philosophy that you apply, that same philosophy to Gamefowl.
Same philosophy.
That right there is a powerful point. So guys, I know that's one of the biggest things. I guess step 1 is definitely when you go out there, look for something, look for a reason, or look for something that's wrong, then look for something that's right. I guess that'd be the first step to learning how to select, right?
That's exactly right.
Guys, these are some jewels right here. If you just chimed in, this is going to be another one of those interviews you need to go back and watch. He done shared his whole method on how he breeds without breeding brother to sister, without doing inbreeding. And that's he just showed you how you maintain a family for 20 years by using that method. He talked about,
Let's clarify once again. I am not criticizing the guys that has been mentored by other people that says to breed father to daughter, mother to son, brother to sister. If it works for you, God bless you.
Yep. But Bobby, I think, most of the successful breeders kind of say the same thing. And I always say, when we bring guests on the show, we want to know how the guests do it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's always a comparison, and, you can always compare this to that and this and that. But at the end of the day, We want to know how Bobby Fairchild does things, and that's really all we concerned about. You know, what somebody choose to do after they watch this interview, or what they've been taught, or they absolute beliefs, is completely their business. They ain't got to use one grain of information that you shared. But for the individuals out there that would like to use some of this information, and again,
Hey,
I
Jim,
think
speaking of share, you know, anybody that's on here, it'd be nice if they would share, tag, whatever on this video, on this interview.
yes, yes, yes. And guys, like I told y'all earlier, if y'all guys can tag, because I've seen a few of y'all guys tag somebody, but everybody watching, especially if you're on Facebook, if you're going to tag at least one person in a comment section, just one, we ask you, you know, if you don't want to share it to your page for whatever particular reason, fine. But if you can at least tag one person in the comment section, Bobby and I would greatly, greatly appreciate that, because it
Oh
just
yeah, and
gives
I like for everybody to get familiar with my voice because
right.
there's so many scammers out there, Jim, that I want the people to be familiar with my voice. And if you decide to purchase something from me, call me on my phone 918-772-0556 and hear my voice.
Right.
If it's not my phone number and it's not my voice, do not send those people your money.
Bobby, say that phone number. Hold on, let me see, because I'm about to say that phone number once again.
918
Mm-hmm.
772 0556.
Okay.
Guys,
So,
I
and
have social media pages. Every one of them has my phone number on the profile. I do not do no business over social media. If somebody on social media sends you a payment method, it is not me, because I will never, ever send you a payment method over social media.
got you. Bobby, I'm going to put that information right here on this banner. Just give me 1 second. Bobby, give me that phone number slowly again.
918
Mm-hmm.
772
Mm-hmm.
0556. 918-772-0556.
Okay. Guys, there it is at the bottom of the screen. Is Bobby Fairchild's name and phone number. And Bobby, while we talking, we'll continue to leave that we'll leave this is about big as us on a body. Can you see it?
Every social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, they all have my phone number on them. If it does not have my phone number or a different phone number, it is not me. He
Got
got
you, Bobby.
Two people today called me that sent him money, and they talked to him on the phone. I don't know why they would send him the money.
Right. Bobby, can you see that banner at the bottom of the screen?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. All right. So guys, we're gonna leave that there because we got Bobby Fairchild's 9.
Hey, you got it wrong, Jim. You got
I got it wrong.
981. It's
All
918.
right.
Yeah, it's 918.
Okay, let me fix that right now. So it's 918-772-0556, correct?
That's correct.
All righty. Hold on 1 second here, guys. All righty. So we got the phone. We're gonna leave that down here, Bobby, while we continue this continue the interview. So guys, he letting y'all know, he's encouraging y'all, you know, and I said this before. If a guy's willing to take your money, but he doesn't want to answer the phone, don't do business with him. Like, I don't understand why you would send, because chickens are not cheap. None of these chickens are cheap. Even from the scammers, they ain't cheap. So if a guy want to take all of this money and you telling me he doesn't want to answer the phone and talk to you, it's probably somebody you don't need to be doing business with. So Bobby's encouraging y'all. Reach
I
out to
won't
him.
I won't do business except on my phone number, typically on WhatsApp. But I won't do business other than on my phone number.
So guys, y'all got it right there. That is we're going to leave his name and phone number for the duration of this interview. Again, guys, I appreciate y'all guys tagging people in the comment. If y'all can continue to do that, I know y'all all know more than one person, but if we can at least get one person to again tag somebody in this interview, we greatly appreciate it. So Bobby, let's talk a little bit about
One more thing. If you have not hit the like button on my farm page, Clear Creek Farm, Bobby Fairchild. Clear Creek Gamefowl, Bobby Fairchild. That's me. Got my phone number on it. Go on there and hit that like button.
Right. And match that phone number to the phone number you see on the screen.
Exactly.
You know, it's big as day. And we're going to leave that down there so y'all guys know there is no excuse now not to have his phone number. Many guys contact the guest after these interviews because they like what they hear. Now y'all guys got a direct contact. It's the right number right there. And Bobby is telling you out of his own mouth, reach out to him, talk to him, hear his voice.
Yeah,
that's the only way he does business.
The social media pages are strictly so you know how to get a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I do not do business. I do not do business on social media.
Got you. So you heard it first there. He doesn't do business on social media, and that's a big thing because 100% of the scammers are doing business on social media. And 100%. If they try to move over to WhatsApp, that phone number is not going to match. No. And Bobby is telling you to talk to him directly, and he's not going to tell you.
The scammer that's on me the phone number that he uses the most of the time is a area code 405, which is a Oklahoma area code, but it's not a 918. I'm from 918 area.
Right. So y'all guys got that information on that for sure. And we'll leave
5 scammer.
Yep, exactly. I mean, some guys, you know what, Bobby, I said this the other day. I think some guys want to get scammed so they can have something to talk about because you have made 100 video. People have been making videos because you're not the only person that they're out here imitating to scam people.
Oh, no. And this sorry rascal had called me. I've talked to him on the phone many times. He called me and asked me to go in partners with him and to partnership up with him. And I broke down on the highway last night. And my buddy Josh Duke, my son, he come and got me. And Josh told me that he's contacted him and wanted him to go in partners with him. And I said, I'm not going to go in partners with somebody that's been scamming my people.
Exactly.
That'd be just like spitting in their face.
That's right.
He is a lot better at social media than I am. I'll give the scammer that. He's got a lot better looking page than I got.
That's exactly. Well,
I'm busy raising chickens. I ain't got time to just sit around on Facebook all day.
That's exactly right, guys. And then again, you reach out to Bobby. If he doesn't answer, leave a message. But he just told you he doesn't do business through social media. Social media is only a avenue or platform for y'all guys to get in touch with him directly. So
if you message me on WhatsApp, 100% of the time, I will return the message. For some reason, some phones, if you send me a text message on regular text, for some reason, it doesn't go through. Mm-hmm. If you send me a text message and I don't respond, it's because I didn't get it. I respond to 100% of the text messages.
Right. And Nathan, as guys are asking about prices and stuff like that, we got Bobby's information on the screen. You guys can contact him directly and conduct whatever business y'all going to conduct about that. We don't need to talk about that.
I got a price list made up that's in my notes, and I just send it right to you. Any information you want, payment methods. If you want to set up an appointment and come after 1st of October, we set up an appointment, you can come visit. We can select something together.
Yep. So so there you have it. So yeah.
KC Ranch is going to be coming through here, bringing some pins and stuff a little bit early, and she's going to be doing a little bit of pre-selection for some people. They can contact her, whatever. But after the 1st of October, I'll be ready to full blown wide open.
Got you. So Bobby, let's talk a little bit about. I would like to talk a little bit about some care. You got a lot of fowl out there. Do you worm? So one guy was saying, do you worm monthly? Like just some of the.
I'll tell you what I recommend. I recommend that you worm every 2 weeks for a period of time. This gets rid of the larvae on your farm.
Okay.
Because the lifespan of a larva is 10 days. Mm-hmm. If you're worming every 14 days, for a long time, we wormed every 2 weeks, every other Monday. Every other Monday we worm. Mm-hmm. And we would get rid and I don't worm as often anymore. Guys, I'm not just making this up. A lot of people say they do this, say they do that. If I tell you I've done something or that I know something, it's because I've done it and I know it.
Mm-hmm.
I sent 6 birds off to the laboratory 2 weeks ago. They come back 100% parasite free, 100% disease free, and sent them off to the Arkansas Poultry Diagnostic Center, and come back 100%. No CRD, no worms, no worms of any kind, no lice, no nothing. And I think we got a pretty good system. That's the first time I've ever got 100% test back. Most usually they'll say everything's great except this one little, that's the first time. And we do this every year. And this is the first time we got 100%. So everything's right.
So Bobby, tell me this: with the every 2 week thing, you see a difference in a fowl when you have done the every 2 weeks versus the once a month or any other method you have used?
Sure. Yeah, because most people, when they say they worm once a month, what they really mean is they worm once every 3 months. I've been around those guys. They ain't bullcrapping me. I see what they do. I worm once a month. Most of those guys are worming every 3 or 4 months.
Yep. Or worming when it looks like it need to be wormed.
Exactly. And I know some people that just swear they don't have no parasites that never worm.
Right. Well, I know it's somebody out there that has a podcast that recommends not to worm. They constantly criticize about gamefowl people worming chickens at all. And I'm like, well, I think, I can't say what's on everybody else's yard, but I know for a fact there's chickens with some worms in them. So, saying that you never have to worm, I don't know.
No, if I have one that reaches a non-live status, we cut him open and have a look and see. And I found them in them before.
Exactly. Yeah.
I tell you what I know that has to exist because science says they exist that I ain't never seen. And that's one of them gape worms, them throat worms.
Yep.
I've cut them open and I've digged and I've looked and I've took magnifying glasses. I ain't never found one of them little suckers. And he can't be no smaller than a cecal worm, and I've seen thousands of them.
Yep.
Them cecal worms, just little old bitty tiny things in the very end of that cecal gut, at the end of that intestine. And I can find them, and I ain't never found a gape worm. Josh Duke says it's a myth that they don't exist.
Yeah, that is kind of weird too that you say that, because you're exactly right. I mean, and like you said, they say science says they do have them, and then they talk about the different symptoms and like the gasping of the air and all that. And I have seen some video and pictures of them from the University of Kentucky, their extension program. I watch a lot of their podcasts, and they were showing it, but I got never seen nobody in real life with them. So I don't know.
I ain't never seen one. That's what I've seen them. I've had roosters that would stand around and go, open your mouth and yawn and stuff, and people would say that gape worms, I get him down, I go in there and look, and I can't find him.
And the way they look from the videos and pictures that I've seen, you should be able to find them. If they're there, you should be able to find them.
Because they show them, it's kind of a wide-looking thing with I've researched it. Because when I went in there, I wanted to know what I was looking for.
Right. That's right.
I ain't never found one.
And guys, if y'all in the comment section and y'all have found it, let us know, because I ain't never met nobody, seen nobody, or ever had anybody that see a gape worm in a chicken's throat.
I know there's things that exist that I've never seen before. I've never seen a rattlesnake, and I know they're everywhere.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So guys, if y'all in the comment section and y'all have experienced it, not no symptoms, I ain't talking about the symptoms, but y'all physically have seen a gape worm, please let us know, because I never seen one, and I never knew anybody who has seen one. I just haven't. So I don't know. I just haven't. So Bobby, let's talk a little bit about, because you've been on here an hour and a half, but I want you to share for the younger crowd out there who wasn't born and stuff like that during the legal days. Share some of your memorable moments throughout your journey, because you talk about how important the journey was. But what was your most prestigious win?
The most prestigious win was the main championship at Sunset back in 2003, and that was the most prestigious event that I ever won. You know, it's whenever Butch Lawson, a great man, great friend of mine, he was operating Sunset, and he called me and asked me what I thought about putting on a tournament, you know, a main championship, and I said, well, Butch, I said, you just took Sunset over. I said, if you want to put it on, I said, put me in. So what we done is we did an 18 bracket. We done 2 of those 18 brackets, and they was 5 cock mains, and it was like a March Madness basketball game or a 9-ball pool tournament where it's a single elimination and you advance to the next round.
Right.
The best I remember, I never lost a fight, and I would advance to the next round. And so I advanced to the championship round, and Mr. Jumper, he advanced to the championship round as well. And I never lost a fight through that whole deal. I just win 3 fights and advanced to the next round. Well, me and Mr. Jumper, we fought a 7-cock main, and I was fighting with a guy named Nika, and Mr. Jumper and Kerry Robinson of R&R. They were fighting together. Both really dear friends of mine. Kerry's a great guy, and Mr. Jumper never made one no better. But we showed a 7-cock main, and I won that main 4-3. And I win the first fight, and then I lose 3 in a row. And
what?
Yes, it was. I mean, in every fight could win either way. Nobody was dominating any of the fights. It was just nip and tuck, and it was just a regular little dog fight. And then I come back and I win 3 fights in a row. And the last one was a real. I win the last fight. The 7th fight, I win it real quick, real easy. It was the only fight that was real quick and easy. The 6th fight was a very long, hard fight in the drag pit with me and Kerry. I was handling and Kerry was handling, and we had a heck of a time back there. And whenever it was over, you know, I was trying to remain respectful and not say nothing, you know, because too much, you know, not to get too happy, you know. But that was a big event for me. It was huge, and inside I was just jumping up and down, you know, with pride. And finally, Mr. Jumper, he seen what I was doing, and he walks over where I was at, and you know, Mr. Jumper and I were very, very good friends. Mr. Jumper, he hugged me and he kissed me on the cheek like a little kid, and he said, "Son," he said, "knock it off." And I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What are you talking about, Mr. Jumper?" He said, "You're trying to be respectful with me." He said, "Son," he said, "I've had my time in the limelight." He said, "You enjoy your day and quit worrying about me." He said, "You're not going to hurt my people." He said, I'm proud for you. And I just hugged that old rascal and loved him, you know, and me and John Brown and Gene and all of us, you know, we went, and Lonnie Harper, you know, we all went and eat and this, you know, and I was able to relax and enjoy myself at that point, you know, and enjoy the highlights of the moment. And after that, you know, now just give me another level of respect for Mr. Jumper and for Kerry too. You know, Kerry was a real gentleman through the whole deal, and like I said, and nobody just dominated. It was a good main. The first event that I ever won that was the largest amount of money that I ever won in one day was the Mel Sims tribute of Mid America. I won the Mel Sims tribute of Mid America. I believe it was in 1998, and that was probably the most amount of money that I'd ever won in one day, and it was a tribute for a great man. You know, me and Mel was really good friends. Matter of fact, you can see right there on my wall. There's a picture. There's a picture of me and Mel. Let's see here. There it is.
Wow.
There's me, Mel Sims, Johnny Jumper, Dink Fair, Steve Sturm. A lot of people don't know who Steve was, but he was probably one of the greatest feeders that I ever knew. and Junior Belt. Junior Belt was the guy that had all the cow and round heads and the flare-eyed grays and all that. And Steve was a feeder for him. But out of all those guys, there's 6 of us in there. Nobody, they're all dead and gone except for me and Dink. And
wow.
And then there's a really good event right there that I had in the Philippines. You know, at the World Slasher Cup. That was a great one.
That was. So you done competed on 3 different continents, 3 different countries.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I went to at one time. I went to the Philippines a lot more than I did in Mexico, but it's got to where that trip to the Philippines is kind of hard on an old man.
I know that's right. 20-some hour trip. I know that's right.
I've been wanting to come over there with you, Jim.
That'd be a blessing, man. That is something we need to make happen. That is something
we need to make that happen.
So, I mean, tell me this, Bobby, how old were you when you was in that Maine over there at Sunset?
Well, I guess I would have been, it was in 2003 and I was born in 64.
Okay. So you was a grown man, basically. You wasn't no
38 years old, I think, 39.
Right. So tell me this, Bobby, was that the most memorable, or was that like the biggest event at that time?
The main championship is the most memorable event that I've ever won. You know, I've won some awful big deals in Mexico and different places and stuff. But the fact that the main championship is the only one of those that I've ever seen. I've never seen another one. They used to have those tournaments like that, you know, back in Oakland and different places and stuff. The way I understand it, years and years ago, that's the only one I've ever seen where, because we fought in Maine every month. It ain't like we showed up and fought this all one day.
Right.
We would fight in Maine every month and go through elimination, and winners would advance to the next month.
Got you.
So it's the only one like that I've ever seen. And then to be able to win it, and then to be in the championship bracket with one of the greatest cockers that ever lived, you know, right. Mr. Jumper. You know, and like I said, you know, and Kerry Robinson is absolutely not no slouch. You know, he's a very highly respected individual himself. You know, and to be in that main championship with those guys, you know, and that's the most memorable event of my whole career. I don't believe that I'll ever have the ability to compete in an event that would be more memorable than that. That event would mean more to me than winning the World Slasher Cup in the Philippines or winning an Intercontinental Derby. Wow.
Tell me this, Bobby, what fowl did you use during that time? But I know it was every month, so I don't know if you was using different stuff.
I used all gray crosses. Pure grays, gray Kelsos, and gray sweaters at that time. Until I got down to the championship round, and I was out of gray roosters. So we showed, because you know you got mandatory weights.
Right.
You can't just show your best roosters. You got mandatory weights.
Right.
The first rooster that I showed was a gray rooster, and I win that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then I showed 3 sweater Kelso roosters. He whipped all 3 of them.
He did, huh?
Yeah, and then I showed 2 more gray roosters, and I win both of those fights. And then I showed another sweater Kelso rooster. I didn't have another gray rooster. I would have had to gave up a pound of weight to brought another gray rooster in there.
Right.
And I brought it in with 0 confidence because he'd done whipped 3 of them, and all 3 of them I felt like were really good roosters, and they were good roosters. He just whipped them anyway. And so whenever I come in with that 7th one, and it was a sweater Kelso, just like the 3 that he had already whooped, we win that fight real fast.
And you won that fight with one that you didn't even have a whole bunch of confidence in, huh?
Well, I didn't have a whole bunch of confidence in him because he'd already whooped 3 of them.
Right.
And and I don't believe because I think it was just a coincidence that he whipped them because they was red. It just worked out that way because they were all 3 good roosters and they were all good fights.
Right.
It wasn't like he just blowed me out of the air and never got touched. It wasn't like that.
Right. Right.
So
everybody earned it.
Roosters go together.
That was a battle, tooth and
2 good
nails,
roosters go together, and somebody's got to lead.
That's right. So yeah, so
we got a technical problem.
Yeah, I think it's starting to lag. Yeah, it's starting to lag. Is it lagging on your end,
Yeah,
Bobby?
I think you're back on now.
Okay. So what I was saying was guys understand, like Bobby just said, it's not like he just got ran through, he just lost those 3, but like he said that it was a battle. Uh-oh. Look like Bobby we done lost him. Guys, give us a minute. Looks like we have lost Bobby. I knew his signal was getting a little unstable. Let's see here. Guys, we'll see. We've been on here an hour and 40 minutes. Let's just see if we're going to be able to continue this interview. But Bobby Fairchild's signal. Yep. He's out. He's out. Guys, that may be the end of this interview. Let's see if we can get Bobby back on. It's not 100% sure. Uh-oh. We might be able to get him back on. Let's see here.
Well, I hear you.
I can see you. Can you see me?
No, sir.
Oh, man. You can't
see
me.
There you are.
Okay.
It's as pretty as you ever was.
Yeah, that's what I said. It looks like you came back in. It looks like the signal was even better than it was when you left. Guess I had to reboot. Okay, and the guys are saying they can't hear on YouTube. Guys, please, before we continue, if y'all can take a second and chime in and let us know. I know it's a delay, but let us know if you can hear us before we continue on talking and nobody can hear. So, Bobby, let's get him about a minute or so. Give them an opportunity to chime in. Okay, they said it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yep, so we good. All righty. So Bobby, you said that was the most memorable. So how about with the Mel Sims? What do you use during that tribute?
Gray crosses as well. They were gray sweaters and gray kelsos.
Okay, gray sweaters.
That was a
Pull that piece of plastic. Okay. Is that one?
My battery charger ain't keeping up. I'm trying to keep some. Whenever I realized it was time to do this, I was still out in the rooster yard working. I still got my shirt still wet up at the top a little bit.
Well, listen, Bobby, we're going to just if you can tell us a little bit about the Mel Sims, and because we've been on here almost 2 hours, brother. We've been on here almost 2 hours, so
okay. The Mel Sims review was the first really outstanding derby that I ever won. As a matter of fact, I had never seen that much money at one time ever in my life. Whenever that all come about, and it actually.
Did you do something?
Yeah. Just a second here, brother. It actually was one of those events where whenever we won that derby, like I said, these chickens mean more to me than just money. That was a dream that I'd been chasing for a long time whenever I won the Mel Sims tribute. You know, I'd won some other good derbies, but not quite that good.
Right,
And
right.
I was in the pit, and my wife, she opens the door and comes running into the pit, you know, to hug my neck whenever I won that fight. And I'm pulling away from her and ducking my head and this and that. And she thought I was being hateful, but what she come to realize is I didn't want nobody to see that I was shedding tears. You know, because it was a very, very emotional event for me. And you know, and Mel was a really great guy, you know, and somebody that I always looked up to. You know, I every time I seen Mel, he was always really nice to me, and enjoyed a lot of conversations and a lot of stuff. You know, sitting around listening to his methods and his old stories and stuff. But when I was around Mel, he never said a lot whenever you had him around a lot of people. But if you got him off one-on-one, he was a talker.
He was, huh?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was a very, very friendly guy.
So
Mel
Bobby,
Mel was a very serious cocker too. He was very serious about it. Yes.
Tell me this, Bobby. Do you see, like, as far as the attitude, work ethic, the seriousness on how the sport is approached, do you see a difference in the cockers back in the day versus the breeders today? And not criticizing nothing negative or anything like that, but do you see
I'm not criticizing nobody. It's just things are a lot different. Okay. The one thing, people that don't have any knowledge today, that's out of laziness because the knowledge is available. When I started, it wasn't there because we didn't have the internet. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have all that stuff. Matter of fact, today, you might need to come up with a little bit of money, but you can get good chickens. I don't care who you are. You can get competitive chickens if you're willing to put the work. When I started, didn't a whole lot of people have real good chickens.
Right.
There was a handful of people, and a lot of those guys, even the guys that were selling chickens, they didn't sell you the same as what they were showing. It was very commercialized. But today you got access to good fowl and you got access to knowledge. You know, even without the support of the cockers, I mean, you can go on Sabong and this and that. You can gather up knowledge. You just got to put the work in.
Right.
But nobody can put the labor in for you. If you ain't got the dedication to get up and to do this and to strive for it every day, then this sport's not for you. You know, I know a lot of people that are in cockfighting. If that's what you're in this for is just cockfighting, then it's you got a different goal in mind than what I got.
And would you agree that you just can't buy this success? I mean, because, you know, Clark talked about it when we interviewed him of how individuals just want to come and purchase a trio, and then 2 years later they want to know why they don't have the same results as he has. And, you know, a lot of times the question is, oh, you didn't sell me.
100%.
Okay.
100%. I explain it like this. Because I'm kind of a metaphor kind of guy. You can have all the buckets of paint in Lowe's, and your house needs to be painted. And you can have the truck to deliver this paint to your house. But until you take it out of that bucket and put it on that house, the house still needs to be painted. I don't care how much paint you got. You can have all the brood fowl you want, all the knowledge you want, but until you take it out of the bucket and put it on the house still needs to be painted.
And
you got to have some knowledge. And you got to have some knowledge. Go ahead, Jim.
No, and I was going to say what you're saying about the metaphor with the paint. Everybody can have the same paint, but everybody is not going to have the same skills as painting, as a painter. So just because your house didn't come out looking as good as the next guy, y'all both use paint out the same buckets from the same store. It's just one guy has maybe a little bit more experience, have a better, ability to paint the house better than you can. So, but it does not mean the paint wasn't no good. It does not mean his paint was better than your paint, but because it came out the same store. You know what I mean? And I think, like you say, that's a perfect example. And that's something that guys overlook. Y'all can all go to Lowe's and buy the same paint out the same buckets because that's what people do every day. But if you look at the quality of paint jobs, they not going to be all the same.
That's right.
So there is no, oh, you got the money, he can buy whatever. No, that's not true. I mean, he might got the money, like Bobby said, you can have all the brood fowl and all that kind of stuff. But if you ain't got the experience and you don't put in the hard work, you're not going to get the results.
That's exactly right. And Jim, honestly, if you're trying to do this on a pretty good size level, you got to have some source of income because it takes money to do this.
Right.
And it's not all about money, but don't get yourself spread out bigger than what you can handle.
Right. That's right.
Keep it within a maintainable range. You don't want to get it where it takes more time than you got. You don't want to get it where it takes more money than you got, because there's two things you've got to have to be successful at this sport. You got to have time, money, and you got to have some willpower.
So, Bobby, now that you said that, and I can make this the last quick because you're going to be pushing over 2 hours. This is something that many of us, either they have or they will, go through tough times in the sport, regardless if it's sport related, like I said, financial, family, whatever the case is. Throughout your career, what kept you pushing through hard times? Like when a storm come through, or you lose your main brood fowl, and you know what I mean, or your money was tight, or something like that. Like, what made you? What was it in you that kept you getting up in the morning and going out there and still pushing?
Jim, there's been times where I felt like I just didn't want to do this no more. I'm not gonna lie. There's really been times like that, but there's just a natural instinct, something that's in my blood that I just can't get away from it. And and I can't. I really don't know what has kept me driving for it. I have a dream, I have a goal, and I have a plan. And it takes all three of those to be successful at this. And then of course, I got an outstanding team. I got my wife and my son Cody, and as time went on, I got guys that are on my staff, and sometimes they carry me through those low times.
Got you.
Now this is going to be something that's different than what most people say, but to do this on a very big scale at all, you got to have somebody that's going to help you. Okay, whether it's a wife or some kids or a schoolboy or a full-blown partner. I don't think that one person can be as successful at this as somebody that has, because there's going to be times when you have those low times that you're talking about, that you got to have somebody to step in and carry you through that. And I know everybody says, well, I just don't have those times. Bull crap.
Right.
Well, there's times that you need somebody, it's a two-part deal where not only are they there to pick you up for the labor and the finances and stuff like that, but they're also there to tell you, hey, Bobby, you're slumping a little bit. Now you're going to have to get your head out of your butt. Now let's get back to doing this. And and that's what I've never truly had a partner, but if you had the right partner, and that's not easy because it takes compatibility. A lot of times a man and a woman, or these days it don't even have to be that, two people gather into a marriage, and sometimes that's a partnership, that's a union, and they have a hard time getting around. So whenever you step into a partner with somebody on these game chickens, you got to realize that every day is not going to be glorious. But but everybody's got to figure out what their part is and play it. And whenever your partner's not playing his part, you can sit over there and gripe and complain about it, or you can step over and pick it up. If you just sit over and gripe and complain about it, you'll both go down.
Got you. Yeah. So I mean that's something I
think
wanted you to share.
I think you got to have somebody to help you. I don't think that one person can take this and do 365 days. Let's do this. 3,650 days over a 10-year period. I just don't think that one person can do this and not get down into a slump and not and you know, I'm not saying you can't bounce back, but you're gonna get down into a spot where some days you just don't feel like doing it. And it's got to be done.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. I mean, it's life, because you know the thing that puts you in a slump don't have to be chicken related. You know, it's living life, and it's things that goes on outside of these things. Yeah.
I mean,
So
you had a fire and your house burned down and you got COVID. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It happens.
It happens. It happens. And guys, I think like I say, I know we've been on here 2 hours. I would recommend that y'all guys go back and watch this interview over. I mean, Bobby shared a lot of stuff that you probably didn't completely hear because we were doing an interview. But go back, because again, his method is not complicated. He didn't really share anything, in my opinion, that any of us cannot do. Started from the bottom, started out with a few chickens, just worked his way up, didn't catch no luck or no licks, wasn't a whole bunch of money or anything like that. But it seems like just determination, perseverance, but just having the goal in mind at the beginning, knowing that you wanted to be successful, not knowing exactly how, you know, how it all turned out, but knowing that what your goals were starting out, and knowing that every day you had to put in work to get a step closer to your goals, and finding some good help, you know, whether it's a wife or a partner or whatever the case is, because with life, you are going to hit some ups and downs. But, you know, Bobby shared a lot of great information. Guys are still in the comment section asking about his different breeds. I recommend y'all guys go back to the beginning of the interview, because he done already explained the history on all the families that he have. So the answers is there. His contact information is on the screen. He encouraged y'all guys to reach out to him to do business. He's definitely there. If you want to do business with him, he only do business over the phone. He doesn't do any business through social media. But I think his story is very, very fascinating, and it should be inspirational. You know, I'm just sharing this last bit, what I'm taking from the interview. I think it's very, very inspirational, because to me, I don't see any part of his story that any of us can't do. You know, starting from the bottom, regardless of what kind of chickens you have, you work your way up.
One of the guys.
Go ahead, Bob.
One of the guys that mentored me in this, he said, one of the guys that mentored in me this, he told me something that was really good. You know, he didn't mean it disrespectful or nothing, but he said, keep it simple, stupid. And that's true. You know, and yeah,
they teach that in corporate management.
It is science, but it ain't rocket science.
Yep. One last question from Mexico. Is Jose Blue's son. I'm sure you know Jose Blue, but so he's watching. Yeah, he's watching from Mexico. Yeah. So his son wanted to ask you, with your experience in history in Mexico, what do you think the comparison or the level of competition in Mexico from back in the day to now? Do you see a big difference? And if you do, what is the difference?
Yeah, the big difference is they got real rooster men over there now. And Jose Blue's son is one of them. It's a competitive entry, guys. And then you got Cabaneros and Cascabellas, and you got Hui, and you got I shouldn't have never started mentioning no names, because there's a ton of them. Guys, those guys are real rooster men. And they've got real roosters. And they've got it down to a science. And if you think you're going to go over there and push those guys around, go over there and get you some of it. they'll, you know, I'm not saying you can't, I'm not saying you can't beat them, because if you got your ducks in a row and stuff, you know, you can have your day over there too. But if you think those guys are easy, just pack you some roosters up and go on over and get you some of it and see what happens. You better have you better have some good roosters, and you better have a good team. And,
That's
and you know, and I appreciate Jose Blue son and his team and stuff watching this video. And, those are really good guys.
Yeah, you know, and that's I just wanted to share that with you because like I say, he's definitely is just amazing, and it's inspiring to see his son following his father's footsteps. I think that's very inspiring. And he's doing very, very well. So he paid a lot of attention
He's
to
doing
what his
very well,
father.
and he's making greater progress, and I believe Jose would be very proud of him.
He would be very, very proud of him. So Gabriel
Yeah.
Blue, you're watching. Bobby Fairchild just answered your question. And just to let you know, Bob, we're doing bilingual interviews now, and we're really entering the Mexican market. Journey to the Pit is really entering the Mexican market to try to make a positive impact down there through education, just like we've been doing here in the States and the Philippines and all the English speaking places. We had El Flaco on not last week, the week before, Tammy. We had El Flaco on. Did a great interview. He's coming on in September. And we got some other great Mexican handlers. We got Chuma Silva that'll be coming on soon. So it's just great to see. And we being well received. And it looks like those guys down there are just as committed to educating themselves to getting better.
First time I started going to Mexico was in 1996. There's absolutely zero comparison to what was happening over there then and what's happening over there now. Cesar Canales and Walter Eloy and several of those guys started putting those nice events on and stuff, you know, and a lot of Americans started teaming up over there, and we've created partnerships and stuff with these guys. And I'm gonna tell you something, guys. It's a very competitive and it's a very high level competition, and it's a very respectful and very serious sport. And I'm just happy to have been a part of it, you know, and will continue to be a part of it.
That's another thing on our bucket list, Bobby. I need to be over there with you. So
yeah, when you get ready, you just holler and we'll go, and maybe we can see Mr. Blue over there and shake hands with him.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Well, Bobby, I held you for 2 hours, brother. I would definitely like a part 2 because there's other stuff that I would like to discuss, but I think 2 hours is generous enough with all the stuff that you got going on just coming off the farm. So, guys, we're going to interview now. Again, Bobby, I greatly appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, sharing all your knowledge. Guys, if you watch the interview, regardless of when you came in, the beginning, the middle, or the end, I recommend that you go back and watch this interview over again. We got Bobby Fairchild's phone number on the screen. Also, too, guys, again, tag somebody in the comment section so they can also get access to this information and knowledge. Bobby, this is going to be part 1 of a 2-part series. It looks like we got having technical difficulties again. So look like we're having technical difficulties again. But guys, we're going to go ahead and close this out. We greatly appreciate y'all guys spending the evening with us, the last 2 hours, sharing with the information and Bobby's story. And this is going to be part 1 of a 2-part series. We'll bring Bobby back on at a later date and talk about some other topics. But yeah, guys, please share it, comment, put your questions in there. Bobby will be back on, you know, when he gets time to answer whatever questions that y'all guys had in the comment section. I think we probably covered all of the questions that y'all guys gave me prior to. It's still some that is left unanswered, but we'll get that in part 2. But we greatly appreciate Bobby Fairchild with Clear Creek Game Farms out there in Oklahoma coming on and sharing his journey. And like he said before, his journey was more memorable than the destination. As I always say, it's all about the journey to the pit, not just what goes on in the pit. So everybody, y'all have a good night. Remember, stay focused, stay positive, stay blessed. Until next time, we'll see you then. Have a great evening. Good night.